What is up, everybody? Run Pure Sports here. We're talking NFL Millie Maker Show. No Rubio Dimes, no Drew. He's at a wedding. Rubio, I think he's on his last day of the picnic across the country or wherever he is. We're here breaking it down. We're talking DraftKings tournaments for you guys. Smash that like button. We would appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel so you can make sure you know when the Wood Show goes live tomorrow for you guys. Snyder, here with you, a little intimate two-man booth. So just the two of us, we can light a candle and have a good time, and people can hang out with us and talk in the chat. Guys, talk in the chat. We enjoy that. Andy says, evening, everyone. We got Richie telling us to smash it. So chat it up there. We need some more people talking because we just got me and Snyder. So happy to answer your questions and talk about the slate. And Snyder, how's the night going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Looking forward to no bye week. It's kind of crazy that there's no bias this week. 13 game slate. I think there's some really good spots to attack on this slate. We really don't have any really bad totals either. I'm only seeing a couple of teams with implied team totals around 15. So I think we should have some scoring this slate.
Yeah, I think we get some scoring this slate for sure. It's a really interesting one. The one thing I do the first look with stats on Wednesdays, and the one thing I noticed when we kind of ran through the slate was there are so many games at the same total. There's nothing that truly separates. If you had to say one game separates total wise, it's the highest one in Green Bay, Jacksonville at 49, followed by Philadelphia, Cincinnati at 47.5, right? But the games that are close to it are Arizona, Miami, 46.5. You got Buffalo and Seattle, which has some weather. It's around 46. Baltimore, Cleveland, 45. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, 45.5. You got Indy and Houston, 45.5. Tennessee, Detroit, 45. They're all just tight totals, which leads to a super interesting tournament slate. It's not one of those slates where we're just listen, Lions, Vikings is one of the games of the slates, or, it's just a really interesting one. We still have news breaking. The big thing to discuss that you guys might not have seen from Dan Graziano, an Underdog said it. T. Higgins has a real chance of missing this coming up game. And if he misses the game, huge bumps to T. Higgins, huge bump to a value like Iacivas. And we do have a lot of receiver value that we'll talk about it coming off of a week where Whittington and Juju were terrible receiver values. So that will be very intriguing. So, excited to talk about the slate. We got a ton of the people in the chat. Mr. Broccoli's here. Goblin's here. He said, it's been a bit. Inflation hit me. I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But, hey, I know inflation's hit everyone. I'll say that. We won't go any further. Hit everyone. Just remember that. We all are paying, $5 for coffee or something like that. But, all right. King of Smacks in the chat saying, what's up? Bodyguard, Jake, tons of people hanging out. We got a ton of games to discuss, Snyder, so let's dive in. And should we go? We'll go through DraftKings, okay? Or not DraftKings, through SaberSim. So if you want to follow along with us, we will go via SaberSim and kind of go from there. I have the Sims up, so I will tell you what the Sims are doing so far. Now, the Sims, again, they have time to adjust and everything like that, and so give it some time, Whatever's said now doesn't mean it's what's going to be played tomorrow, but I'll definitely talk about the Sims so you guys get a taste of our partner, SaberSim, and some of the stuff that it is looking at here on this slate. But Snyder, first one up is Jets and New England. And for me, if you ask Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams, which was asked by someone in the chat, I would take Tyreek Hill. That's what I would take. I do not want to take many Jets. And if I do take a Jet, it's Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall's fine, but also I think Breece Hall's just very chalky, right? And I don't know if he deserves that ownership on this slate. Yeah. This just isn't a spot I want to play Breece Hall. I'll have exposure, but it's not a guy to be severely overweight on, in my opinion. It's more of an even with the field or underweight and find other plays in that range, which there are other plays in that range. I know Aaron Rodgers is cheap at 5,700. I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I am a big go cheap at quarterback guy, but I just don't think it's a great spot for this game. And honestly, I'm really mainly looking at Breece Hall, and that's it. Now the Sims, I'll tell you this. They got Breece at 16%, and then they got a peppered a lot of different plays in that 4 to 8% when I ran 50 teams and put some uniques on and called it a day. I don't love it. Snyder, I think this is a game I'm going to be severely underweight on. How about you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to play Brees. It looks like his ownership could push like 40%, which is wild.
Snyder, he will be a cash game running.
Yeah,
like for sure.
Definitely.
Like he will be a staple in people's lineups.
Absolutely, 7,300. It's a good price tag for him. And since the new offensive coordinator came around, he's seen 80%, 83% of the carries now. That's a slight tick up from 58 what he was seeing the first 5 weeks. So that's good for him. He's seen more involvement in the pass game too. I think he's just a good, safe play. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I know he's like the cash play, so maybe I get off him a little bit in tournaments. I do think Devontae holds some merit though in tournaments. He'll be like 2% owned, maybe 3% owned, definitely under 5%. He was kind of chirping throughout the week, talking about the culture and stuff. I think Aaron Rodgers may try and smooth things out with him and kind of load him up there. You know how he used to back in Green Bay. He used to like pad his stats near the goal line, throwing in those 2-yard slants and stuff for touchdowns. So I think Adams is interesting for tournaments. Definitely a guy I'll have in like MME or something when I run that. I don't know if he definitely probably won't make a 3-max team or anything like that for me. I think he's definitely holds a lot of merit for like the million maker and such with probably a percent of the ownership that Brees Hall is going to have. So I think Adams is fine for tournaments. So I definitely like Tyreek more than Adams, but I think Adams holds a lot of merit for like the million maker and such. I expect the Jets to just roll through the Patriots here. I don't know if I'm going to get to their defense, though, at 3,500. They really have underwhelmed. I think I'd rather pay up for like the Broncos defense for a couple hundred more so than the Jets defense. But I think it's just Brees Hall and then maybe some Devontae tournaments for me in this game.
Yeah, and Lazard is doubtful. That is correct. So we're not expecting him really to play. So obviously Wilson and Adams could definitely see a good, healthy share of targets and Conklin. But I talked about it, man. There's a lot of good games on this slate. This just isn't one for me. I get it, though, if you want to get there. All right, let's shift on over to this next game. Colts, Texans. Definitely an interesting game to discuss. Tank Dell busted his chalk last week, right? Remember? At a nice zero spot at 6.3K. Now, if his price was like 5.5 or 5.2, I think people would go back to the well. I don't think they do. I think 6.3, it feels too expensive for people. So I actually think he is going to be low. Owen Saberson has him at 5%, and I do agree it's going to be lower. He will get squeezed. I also don't like these Colts receivers. I mean, these Colts receivers have not been the greatest plays, with Anthony Richardson. I just don't like this spot and this game that much. I don't hate the Tank Dell call in tournaments for sure. I totally get it. If I had to pick one play I actually do kind of like, and I think I am buying it on, I think it's Joe Mixon. Like, he's getting some ownership, but I kind of believe the Joe Mixon hype. I just think it's going to be – I just feel like he's going to keep churning most of the year, right? I'm not saying I'm going to be out here, hitting the lock button or something, or he's my top play of the slate, but I think he's the best play in this game. If you forced me to pick one guy, he would probably be the guy. You also could make a case, I think, with there being no Nico Collins, why not consider Dalton Schultz at 4.1K? Yes, there are better tight ends on the slate, but I do think he is in the conversation, and I don't want to ignore that we like playing good offenses against the Colts, and we have that here. I'm also not scared of the Texans defense. The thing I am scared of is can Anthony Richardson push the game enough to give us ceiling outcomes? That is my concern, Snyder. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of like the under in this game. I just think that CJ Stroud's really been struggling without Nico Collins in the offense. Their offense is kind of hit stagnant. I think this game's just going to be kind of a slow, boring game. I do think that Tank Dell merit has a lot of merit in tournaments and such. They're coming off the air ball. I mean, he was good the game before that, so he holds a lot of flop leg spot here. But a guy that I was making fun of early in the season, but I kind of came around to him the last couple of weeks was Joe Mixon. He's averaging 5.2 yards per carry this year, which is a career high for him. Indianapolis defense has been pretty bad against the run. They've given up at least 17 DK points to the RB position every game this year. Mixon's coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, scored twice last week, put up 30 back-to-back weeks, and put up 30 week one, too, when he was healthy. So I think this is just a spot where you just put in Mixon there, 7,700. Should keep his ownership relatively kind of in check, maybe somewhere in that 15 to 20% range. But I think he's a guy that I'm going to have in there. I mean, he's super expensive on FanDuel, but there's a lot of really good value over there as well, too, if you want to get him over there. But 7,700 on DK, I think that's a good – I mean, he's going to be a guy at least even with on the field here, because I think this is kind of a slower game where Houston kind of controls it with Mixon, kind of takes the stress off CJ without Nico in there. So I don't mind the Tank Dell call there. He'll probably be like under 5% owned after the air ball there. So I think he makes for a lot of merit there. I've been kind of slowly just watching. I haven't pulled the trigger on him yet, but Xavier Hutchinson, he remains in the low 3Ks, but I think he should remain in the low 3Ks because he has absolutely done nothing the last couple of weeks. I was kind of hoping he was going to get going last week. Maybe I would have played him this week when they were at home in the Dome, but I just don't think I can get to him this week either. So mainly it's Mixon for me, and then maybe a sprinkle of Tank Dell.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mixon and Dell seem like the two main guys that I'm looking at. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, Richie, Dell will be lower owned for sure. No doubt you'll see that for sure. And here's a good 2v2. Tim Patrick, Adams, or Iacivas and Ty Freak. I'm Iacivas and Ty Freak, especially if Higgins sits. If Higgins doesn't sit, maybe it's even if Higgins doesn't sit, I think it's the Iacivas side, to be honest. So
yeah, I think so.
That's for sure mine. We got Don Yeezy in the chat. Happy to have you here hanging out with us. Let's get to the next game, though. Lions and Titans. And the Lions are huge favorites. They're clearly in a great spot. My problem with this game is I think you can play Lions, right? You can mix in Laporta, Gibbs, all these guys. You can mix and match them on your teams. That's fine. They're going to put up points. My problem is, will the Titans be able to push it? Like, can Mason Rudolph help push it? It is a funnel spot, right? That is one thing to know. And let's see if Big T's got the flow chart up. I assume whenever Big T does the flow chart, you're always going to see the Lions are one of the flow chart plays. Let's just see if it's up there, because I am curious. I don't want to do it, but I'm curious if it is. He doesn't even have them up there for maybe. This is because of last. No, it's not last week. We're all updated. So, yeah, I don't know. He doesn't even have him on here. I don't think. Where is he? There he is. Mason Rudolph. Very dry bench. So there you go. I'm not saying I would even play him. I'm just saying I know the Lions. That's how we attack them, right? And I'm trying to figure out how can we run stuff back if you saw a stack get there. And we've seen stacks not get there throughout the season where I just think I'll take pieces of the Lions and that's it. I mean, Sam Laporta at 4.8 is cheap for him at tight end, so I don't hate him as an option. This is not like last week, though, where we felt like we needed to play a bunch of tight ends. We have a lot of value. So maybe I won't be as excited about that. And also, I might be a little sensitive to the flex position and be like, hey, I don't need double tight end that much. I think last week it made sense. This week it doesn't make as much sense. So that's something I'll be thinking about. If I did play a Titans play, you can make the case with Tajay Spears being downgraded. It could be Tony Pollard getting the full backfield. But my case last week, we talked about it on this show, was I don't want to play him regardless of if he is the full backfield. And I don't even think it's a great spot for him. So it wouldn't be him. If I played one Titan, it's probably Calvin Ridley at 5.2. And honestly, I don't even want to do that. If I run my teams and I see I have 20% Calvin Ridley, I'm not going to enjoy that, and I'm probably going to adjust my stuff. So for me, it's mainly looking at some Lions. But honestly, Snyder, if I ran my teams and didn't have a lot of Lions, let's say you're a 20 max player, I don't think you need exposure to this game. It's just not one of those spots I'm desperately trying to get exposure to. There's a couple that we'll get to that I'm really excited about, but this is not really one of them. I understand there's plays in this game, but not ones that I'm really that excited about.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and get some one-offs of this game. It's definitely not a game I'm going to be looking to stack up, but it's got the highest implied team total on the slate here. The Lions have over a 28-point implied team total, so I think they're going to roll in this game too. It's going to be one of those Dan Campbell games where they just get in and win 35-3 or something. Definitely don't want anything to do with the Titans. I like the Lions at home in these spots, so I think they're just going to get in and just roll like I said, 35-3 or something. So they're going to score points. I think St. Brown is a great tournament play. He's going to be under 10% owned for sure. He's put up 20-plus points in 4 of the 5 games, scored a touchdown in the last 4 games as well. So I think St. Brown is a really safe option for 20 points with like a 35-point upside easily in this matchup. So St. Brown is a guy I'm going to try and get on some teams. I'm going to bump him up. I'm probably going to project him for like 22, 23 points or something like that and see where he lands, because I think he's going to be comfortably right in that 20-point threshold like we've seen. Last week he was at 28, caught all 8 passes. He's caught every single target the last 3 games. He has not missed a target in his last 3 games, so that's kind of wild. So he's catching everything, going his way. Goff's been super efficient. So I think St. Brown can get there even off limited work. So I think he finds the end zone again. They kind of forced a touchdown to him last week towards the end of the game. So they're looking to get the ball to him around the goal line. So yeah, I'm definitely in on a St. Brown, and there's no Jameson Williams in this game too. So that just even opens it up even more for St. Brown here. And the Tim Patrick play is there at 3,500. I don't think I'm going to force that, though. I mean, if he hit a team or something, that's fine. I'm not going to shy away from it. I think he's going to see some ownership, though, as a cheapie in there. Like, not terribly, but I think he could, like, potentially approach, like, 10% ownership, I think, this week. I've heard his name brought up a few times, but I definitely like these Lions guys with the highest implied team total on the slate. I think Gibbs is a fine play. You can play Montgomery, too. Montgomery's been super consistent besides last game. He kind of got nicked up last week, but he's been super efficient, though. He's been 15-plus points in every game besides last week when he only played a few of the snaps there. He kind of got nicked up, and Gibbs kind of took over. Gibbs, 7,400. He can see a little ownership. He's been super efficient, though, too, and consistent, 15-plus points, I think, in about every game as well. But I think I'm going to try and get some one-offs of these Lions guys just because they're going to put up points, and one of them's going to put up like 35 points, I think, in this game.
Yeah, it's a spot you can get exposure to. I just want to be overweight on, I think, some other spots.
Yeah.
Especially this next one, Eagles and Bengals. I do worry it's going to get steamed up now a little bit, but we'll see. Jamar Chase, Iosivas, if Higgins misses, which I'm assuming he misses, I assume they become a little bit chalkier. I thought they'd be good plays. Still think they're good plays in this spot. You can make a case if you wanted to punt tight end and go Eric All Jr. I think that makes sense. I think both these teams, in a way, they're funnel defenses. For one, Bengals are just not a good defense. They're just bad at defense. It's plain and simple. Their offense is great. Defense is bad. They're going to put up points all year. They're going to be in games that are high scoring. Eagles, I mean, their pass attack is not great, right? It's definitely smart for them just to attack with their passing game. The Bengals, they're smart enough to do that. The Eagles, I mean, I'm not a big Jalen Hurts guy. I think Jalen Hurts can struggle at times, but again, against the bad defense, I think this is the spot. This is the spot where we could see his ceiling. I like him. I like Burrow. I think they're good plays. Like Chase, like Iosivas a lot. I think AJ Brown, Grant Calcaterra, both really good plays. It's really me looking at the receivers, not as much the running backs. I just think this is a great spot to load up on the pass games and call it a day. It's hard for me to argue with. And I'm curious to see what the ownership comes in on these plays. Because right now, Jamar Chase is at 2.36 owned. That's not going to stick, obviously. But I still think I'll be able to get overweight on this game. It's one that I like a lot. Chase is expensive at 8.5. I mean, these guys are not easy to get to. And there's other guys that people want to play instead. So overall, Snyder, big fan of this game. How about you?
Yeah, we got a good total here, 48-point total here. Both teams have good implied team totals as well. I think Chase is definitely going to get steamed up, though, if it comes this way. I kind of leaned the Eagles side mainly in this game. I think they're going to win this game. And I think A.J. Brown's he's going to end up coming like at half the ownership of Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase has the huge upside. He's had 2 good games this year, a couple of down games. But you look at what the Eagles have done with A.J. Brown in the fold this year, and last year he had some big games. This year, A.J. Brown scored 20 points in every single game he's played. He scored a touchdown in every single game he's played. He was just under 100 last week. He was over 100 the first 2 games. So I think A.J. Brown is my preferred option in this game. You get a slight savings to him, but I definitely agree. Everybody going to Chase in the home game. It's a good spot for the Bengals here. They should hopefully get right here. They've kind of been struggling, but they did mount a couple of wins versus the Giants and the Browns the last 2 games. Chase definitely has that high ceiling. He's put up 30 and 44 a couple times this year with a couple of touchdown games. But I think I'm going to lean the lower ownership in A.J. Brown. I don't see myself really getting to Devontae or anything like that. Saquon Barkley, I just like some other running backs a little better than him, but 8-3, I mean, the ceiling he has. He showed that off last week in the revenge game. It was kind of cool seeing did you see the deal where Sirianni came over to him? I guess he was like a few yards away from the rushing record or the Philadelphia Eagles record or something like that, and he's like, you want to go back in there and get the extra yards you need? And he's like, no, I'm good. Let the younger guys eat. I thought that was kind of cool. But I did play Grant Calcaterra on one of my 3 main teams last week. Didn't really do much after putting up 10 the week before, but I think I'll go back to him on one of my teams again this week at 3,200 with a tight end, kind of a little rough as usual, but I think Calcaterra is fine as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Calcaterra stuff, and yeah, I did see the Barkley stuff. That was cool, but hey, as someone who didn't play Saquon Barkley last week, and it was okay, it worked out okay. He wasn't like I had all the other good running backs, so it actually worked out fine.
Yeah.
Like I got away with it, but I was getting uneasy. I'll admit. So, yeah, I don't think Barkley's a bad play here. And let me pull up Sabre again just to see. They actually don't even have Barkley on here. It's very intriguing that they don't have him. Like when you run the Sims, right? Obviously he's in the pool, but
yeah,
he doesn't pop up. And I thought that was intriguing. Let me see what his price is. I mean, he's got to be. Yeah, he's 8-3 again.
Yeah, he'll be under 5%.
Sorry, he is in the Sim. So he is 4%. When I run 50 teams, 3 uniques, he's 4%.
Okay.
And his ownership is 6%. So it gets a little bit of exposure. Again, I don't need Barkley, but if I have the salary, I'm not going to say no to playing Barkley. There's good running back options on this slate for sure. We'll get to a couple, no doubt. Let's get to Arizona and Miami. I think a lot of people like this game. I'm a little uncertain on this game. I really want to know what the ownership is going to come in at because it seems like this game is super chalky. It seems like a lot of people want to play it. A lot of people are excited about it. I don't see it. Like, I think I'm going to be underweight on Tyreek Hill. I think I want to be overweight on other studs. There's just other receivers I'd rather take chances on that we'll get to, we'll talk about. And honestly, like, Tyreek's questionable. We've had questionable receivers struggle. He says he's good to go and all that stuff. How do we know they're just going to go out there and sling it like crazy? Why wouldn't they run the ball a lot? They like to run the ball. Now, I'm not saying, like, if Miami goes out there and they have a good game to kick it off, like, they get like a touchdown or 2, that's fine. But do we think Arizona is going to be able to push it enough on the road? I mean, they haven't been great. And when they do get up, they love to pound the rock with James Conner. I just think this game plays a little more uglier, I guess, than other people might think. Like I said, I like Philly Cincinnati a little bit more. There's another game we'll get to that I like a lot. And I just think this game is I think it's getting over-owned. I prefer a chain to Tyreek Hill. I love the 6.2K price tag. A chain will definitely be someone that I'm overweight on in tournaments. I'll be overweight on James Conner at 8% owned at 6.5K. I think he's a really good play. So I'm buying on the run games. I'm not buying on the pass games as much, Snyder. How about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this game. I've seen some quotes and stuff from there's been a couple of doctors out there thinking that Tua's going to hit the ground running. He should be fine. He's kind of been itching to get back in there the last couple of weeks. And then Tyreek's saying, start us up. We're ready to hit the ground running. He's like, if you own me in fantasy, play me this week. Kind of torn there. I could definitely see like Green Bay. The last time Arizona went to Green Bay, they just got absolutely torched by Jordan Love in the passing game there. I could definitely see Tua throwing for like 300 yards in this game. You see like Tyreek catch an 80-yard bomb or something like that. I'm kind of torn here. I'm definitely going to play some Miami on FanDuel because they're super cheap on FanDuel. I think Tua's like 7K over there and Tyreek's in the 7K. So I think they're definitely viable on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I'm still a little torn. Tyreek's 7K, which, I mean, early in the year, we were getting Tyreek at 8.4, 8.7. So he's like a 9K player with Tua. I think we're getting a good discount on the pricing for him and the upside. So I'm definitely going to have some. I know his ownership's probably going to be around 25-30%. It's going to get steamed potentially. Well, it all depends with that Chase news too. Maybe Chase kind of takes a little of his ownership away too. See how everything else works out. I think Jalen Waddle is interesting for tournaments at 5,400. We could see him catch like a slant route or something like that, take it to the house. No one's going to play Waddle, I don't think. You wouldn't think anyways. I guess his ownership is right around like 15%. So, yeah.
If Tua gets steamed, he'll get steamed.
Yeah, that's true.
So it just depends. I think we'll have a lot more information tomorrow as we see what the field's doing by just like kind of looking at ownership and stuff like that. I know we do this the night before, but I think you have to be very ownership sensitive on this game. If you told me these guys come in at like 2%, yeah, I love it. If they come in higher, which I think this game is getting steamed higher than I would like it, then I'm not excited. But again, I don't know what's going to happen with the Bengals stuff. The Bengals stuff could really shake it up, and I really just don't know.
Yeah. Both of these teams, the Bengals and the Dolphins, both have that 25-point implied team total. So there's going to be points coming somewhere, and the chain was really good the first couple of weeks with Tua as well. So I think Dolphins are definitely going to score points in this game. I expect them to win and cover the spread in this game. So I think you need to have a piece of them in MME for sure. I don't know if they're the route you want to go like in a 3-max or something, but MME, I think you definitely want to try and get some of these Dolphins in your portfolio.
Yeah. Sean says they're rejuvenated. So some people say they're rejuvenated. Some people say they're not, right? Yeah. I think it's both scenarios. I just think the one thing that I'm not going to see from Tua, I don't think you're going to see him drop back as much as you would like. That's my concern. I just think they're going to run the ball. Now, if they have to, let's say they're down 17-0. Yes, Tua is dropping back. But I think this game is just more a grinded out game. But you have to look at
I don't think you see Tua scramble anymore, though, like he did the last time. He scrambled and ran straight into a linebacker. Definitely don't think – I think he's going to be more sensitive to stay in the pocket and such.
Yeah, I think he'll scramble in the bigger spots, but we'll see. I think especially this season. Yeah, Frank, I'm with you. A chain season. I'm big on a chain. Like if you told me who's the guy in this game, like so far that we talked about that I love a lot, a chain's definitely one of them.
Great
price. He's underpriced at 6.2K. I think he's a good play. I'll definitely get exposure to him. But I got another game I want to talk about coming up soon. Not yet though. We gotta wait. Tampa Bay and the Falcons. We have to talk about this game. The reason why we have to talk about this game is there's some cheap chalk in this game, and honestly, it could not be as chalky because of the Iacivas stuff with him being maybe the guy that people want to gravitate towards, mainly because the Bucs stuff is unknown at receiver. From what I read, it sounded like it was going to be a by committee thing, and like they don't know who's going to be like the slot guy or the outside guy. For me, I just want to like get like a sprinkle of all of them, not too much, not too little, and just call it a day. I don't want to take a stand on these receivers. I think that's a stupid idea. If anything, I want to be underweight on them in this spot. I do think it's a good spot for the other Falcons, though. You can make a case for Bijan Robinson, Pitts, Mooney, Drake London. The one thing I would argue, though, is if you do play those guys and like start stacking it up, I just think you need the run back. Like I think it's a spot you kind of feel the need to run that back, because if they do get there, it's not going to take that much for these other Bucs receivers to get there. So that is one thing that I'll definitely think about kind of when building my lineups there. Quarterback wise, I don't think I'm getting to many of these quarterbacks, maybe some Kirk Cousins at 6.2K if I think he can absolutely go crazy. But again, I want to be a little cautious with this game. I think if you just play projections and sims, it could push it a lot. I also could see it not if the Iacivas stuff projects out way better. So Snyder, if that's the case, do you think these Bucs now come under-owned and are interesting plays?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these Bucs yet either. I think McMillan and Palmer will be the two guys that people kind of gravitate to the most. I might just kind of be out on Tampa. I don't know. I'll have to see what like the Sims say once we update that, what Saber has and all that stuff. But I definitely definitely am going to play Drake London, though. I mean, I've been playing him every single week. One of the most consistent wide receivers in the league. The last time the Falcons played Tampa Bay, Kirk Cousins threw for over 500 yards. Drake London had 36 DK points. He's averaging over 10 targets a game in his last 5 games. He scored a touchdown in 5 of the last 6 games. So Drake London has just been super consistent. I think 7.2K is just a great price tag for him. So, and the ownership really isn't as big as I thought it would be, with like Tyreek's going to steal a bunch of that, a couple hundred cheaper. There's some other guys there. So I think Drake London is a smash play in this game. If he's around 15%, I'll probably have at least 2 to 3 times of him, but definitely love London. I played Cousins on one of my main teams last week. That was hurtful. I mean, his props last week was what kind of blinded me there. I think his passing prop was 12 yards higher than anybody else. He was like minus 175 to throw over 2 touchdowns. So that was kind of hurtful there. I don't even know if he broke 10 points last week. But London still got there. I mean, London still had like 15, 16 points in a down game like that. So really like London in this spot. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these Tampa Bay receivers, but I do think like a Rachaad White. I mean, this guy could catch 6, 7, 8, 9 balls in this game. I think 5,700 for Rachaad White is a guy I'll be fairly higher on. I know JBC was higher on him in that the showdown last week. Caught 6 passes and that for 71 yards, added in 40 yards on the ground, scored twice in that game. I think Rachaad White, we see another like 6-catch game from him here. 5,700 will definitely be a guy I have in the portfolio for sure this week.
Yeah, and I agree with a couple people in the chat said this. Rance and Mr. Taco.
Yeah, Otten too.
Otten's definitely a very good play. He is someone I will definitely be looking at. The one thing we do love about Baker, he's going to
there's one more after you get done.
Yeah, he's going to be popping that Zin and he's slinging it, right? Which is one thing you do love to see. And that's why I think if the game does shoot out, you just need the run back options. And I also like buying in on coaches that I just think are good coaches and spots that you want to get overweight on. I do think the Bucs are just like an offense you want to kind of buy exposure on throughout the season. So what's your thoughts on what's the other thing you wanted to add on this game?
I just wanted to mention, I thought I had to mention Kyle Pitts again. He's 4,400. He scored double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight games now. The talent is definitely there. Caught 7 of 9 targets last week, 7 of 8 targets against Tampa Bay the first time they played. So I think Kyle Pitts deserves to be in the player pool and deserves to be discussed at 4.4K in a kind of rough tight end spot there. Cade Otton's definitely going to see the more ownership than him, I think. But I just thought I had to mention Kyle Pitts there. What's your thoughts on Kyle Pitts? I mean, it's been a wild road over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good play. I think my opinion on tight end this week, like nothing sticks out as like incredible plays. Like there's one guy, right? We'll talk about him. He's coming up, Njoku. Clearly he's a great play. Mm-hmm. But and then it's Otton. Then it was Disley as the punt that you could consider. I think that could be intriguing. And if you're spending all the way up Bowers, right? But Pitts will be under-owned, and tight end is a good spot to always get different this week. Yeah, I mean, tight end's fine this week. It's not a dumpster fire, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Ingram too. I mean, there's plays. And that's why Pitts, I just think, is a solid option. So, all right, let's get to the game I actually want to talk about. Packers and Jaguars. This is the game for me. Curious what the ownership comes in at. I like Jordan Love. I think he's a good play. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a good play. Lawrence at 5.6. It's just a cheap price. And I'm a Packers fan. I love watching them play, but that defense is not amazing this year. I think the defense could find its way to getting into form by playoff time and be, I shouldn't say elite defense, but like a top-end defense, but it's not there yet. It just isn't. And I think you got to like the opportunity that Lawrence is going to have. He's going to be slinging it around a ton. You got Josh Jacobs at 6'6", Tank Bigsby at 6'3". For 2 RBs that could just be the bell cows in this spot, pending on the Etienne news, it's a good spot for both these guys at their price tags. I like them a lot. Romeo Dobbs, 5'7", not a bad play. Reed, 6'7", don't hate him. Like Watson, 5'2", all these guys, you can play roulette with them. You could also get bit by them, but I think that is one reason why the ownership of this game could stay down on these options. You could also play Love naked and get away with it. We've seen it win the Millie Maker once this year. Certainly could do it again. The guy I really want to play in this game is Brian Thomas Jr., 6.4K. I've been playing him every week. I'm just going to keep playing him every week. I think he's a great play. Christian Kirk at 5.5. I think he's pretty underpriced at that option. Tucker Kraft at 4-6, Evan Ingram. They're both interesting tight end options that you can play. Again, tight end is a spot. I just want to be kind of like, I'm just going to mix and match guys. I'm not going to be like, the one guy I'll probably be super weight on is Njoku, just because we'll talk about it coming up next, but I think it's a great spot for Njoku in that game. That's another game I'm really going to love on this slate. But Jaguars and Packers clearly is going to be a good game. And I think what's going to end up happening based on all the news coming in, typically one game is the game that people gravitate towards. I think they gravitate towards Cincinnati, Philadelphia for sure. I think they maybe gravitate towards the Dolphins and Cardinals. And maybe this game gets more under-owned than it should for being the best total, just because people will look at it and go, why do I want to play the Jags and play roulette with all these receivers and options that they have? Why do I want to play roulette with the Packers? And I just think it gets a little under-owned than it should. That's just my thought of how it could shake out. Saber kind of agrees. When you look at the ownership on all of these plays right now, there is not one play over 10% except Josh Jacobs, which, again, give ownership time to figure itself out. But I think Bengals and Eagles is way higher owned than this game. I think Miami and Arizona way higher owned than this game. And I just think it's going to have criminal ownership, and I think it's the best total, and I want to be in on it. So, Snyder, I love a lot of plays in this game. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of rare, like you were saying, to see the highest total on the slate not be really getting as talked up as much, or ownership-wise, combined ownership isn't as much in this game. Definitely think this is a great spot. Listening to VSiN throughout the week, there's definitely a lot of like sharper action coming in on the Jags side, so we should see a lot of back and forth in this game. The spread's pretty close to 4-point spread. Good implied team totals here for both teams. Great spot for Jordan Love here. He's averaging 280 yards passing, 3 touchdowns since he came back from the injury, and he gets a good landing spot here. Jacksonville's allowing 274 yards per game to the passing offenses and 2.2 touchdowns a game. So I think this is a great spot for Jordan Love. I think Jaden Reed could be a bounce back spot here, 6,700 if you go with him. Kraft has been very solid. I think he's fine. I do love the Brian Thomas call that you had there. I played him in that showdown last week in the captain spot, and I won one of the tournaments, so that was good. So I think I'll go right back to Thomas. 6'4" is a good price tag for him. Shouldn't see much ownership there. It's kind of hard to pinpoint these Packers receivers, though. I mean, it's almost just like playing whack-a-mole with them. I mean, one week Watson will catch a touchdown, then Wicks will catch a touchdown, then Dobbs will catch a touchdown. Generally, he was looking at Reed in the red zone there for the first part of the year. Maybe it's a bounce back spot for Reed, but I definitely like Kraft as well. 4,600 is a great price tag for him. He's been seeing targets every game, 4+ targets in his last 4 games. Found the end zone, 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games for Kraft as well. I think this is a spot where Ingram as well. I mean, Ingram can catch, almost, I don't know if he can catch 10 balls again like he did at Chicago a couple of weeks ago, but I think this is a spot where he can catch 6, 7, 8 balls or something. So I think Ingram's a fine option. I think you can even go double tight ends in some teams this week as well. I think there's some good lower, cheaper tight ends this week that can get you 15 points or something like that with the upside for more. So I think it's a great spot for Jordan Love, and I think Jacksonville's going to push back a lot in this game too. I think it's going to be a close game with the high total. So I'm right there with you in trying to stack this thing up.
Yeah, and to the point that you said with the whack-a-mole stuff with the Packers, let's just like go to college football fantasy, right? Think about the Colorado. Colorado plays at the 10-15 slate. So think about playing GPPs with them. You typically don't want to have like 50% of Wester and then like Jimmy Horn Jr. you have 5% of, right? For me, if you are an MME guy, I think the best way to handle this Packers situation is make sure you're not too overweight on one and make sure you're getting exposure to all of them. Yeah. That if you have 20% of Dobbs and you have 2% of Christian Watson, that's just wrong. That's not the right way to play it. If you're a single entry guy, I do not completely hate the idea of playing him naked. If you really want to, it's a humongous slate. There's a lot of good plays. I think you can easily get away with it. So that's definitely a great way to handle it. Snyder, enough of this, though. I love that game, but I want to talk about this game, Snyder. Get me on the Ravens game. We're talking Ravens football. Snyder's all bricked up, I'm sure, to talk Ravens football. And I want to talk about it because I think it's one of the better games on the slate to get exposure to. I love Jameis Winston. I've been beating the drum. Give me Jameis, give me Jameis, give me Jameis. I get Jameis Winston. I get my cheap quarterback, which I love playing cheap quarterbacks. Okay. I get a tight end that I can pair with Jameis Winston, right? At 5.1K, where if Njoku gets a touchdown, Winston gets a touchdown, they both get the touchdowns together, the correlation goes great, which trying to figure out tight end is never fun. You got a cheap Cedric Tillman if you want to take a shot, or an Elijah Moore. I think I lean more Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore is a really intriguing option. I think he's actually a little better than Cedric Tillman. And I think everyone else is going to play Tillman. Based on the ownership, Tillman's at 19%. Elijah Moore for 400 more is at 5%. I just think you're getting a huge edge there. So that's how I would handle the Brown side. When it comes to this Ravens side of the football, for one, you can play Lamar Jackson, right? Plain and simple. Like, Lamar's a great play. Derrick Henry, 8-1. You know I'm not the biggest Derrick Henry guy, but Snyder, sometimes you got to adjust a little bit. And, if I spend up, I'm definitely going to be considering Derrick Henry. Now, I think there's enough 6 and 7K running backs where, again, I don't think I'm getting excited about that build. But if I am playing Jameis Winston, if I'm playing Njoku, and I'm using a correlation, optimizer like SaberSim, I will get some Derrick Henry, I bet, in there. And I don't think it's a bad idea. And honestly, it would fit well because if they are trailing, Winston is slinging it to Njoku. So there's a lot of correlation that works well there. Mark Andrews at 4K. I don't think he's a bad option at the tight end. And honestly, the more we've talked about it, I just think tight end's a spot I want to spread myself out just because it feels like we have a lot of interesting plays that will not get a lot of ownership. So it's, hey, go overweight on Njoku and then get splashes of all these different tight ends, it sounds like, for me. Snyder, I'll let you talk about your Ravens. I know you want to, Ravens flock it up, so get in there and talk about it.
This is a spot that's kind of a little questionable for me, though. Lower total in this game. I know the Ravens have the second highest implied team total. They've been scoring at least 28 points every game. The last 5 weeks, I think they've scored at least 28. So they're going to probably put up points. The defense has definitely been leaky at times, and they've got a couple of guys in the secondary. Looks like they're both going to miss. I think the rookie Wiggins and it sounds like Humphreys are both going to be out tomorrow, which they're going to get one of their guys back from IR this week. But that secondary has just been, it's all been predicated towards the first-year defensive coordinator, though, too. I think he's a little over his water, in a little over his head in the water. But they did bring in Dean Pease last week, a veteran defensive guy, to kind of help control and help mentor him a little bit as he kind of gets this defense going. So that helped a little bit last week, but I just don't know. I think this is going to be kind of like a slower divisional game. Maybe it's like 28-10 or something like that. I think the number is definitely coming down a little bit. It was at 10 and it's down to 8.5 now. So the Browns are definitely seeing some sharp action there. So should be rather close, I think. I don't have too much conviction in this game, though. I know the Ravens are probably going to score some points. Cedric Tillman is a guy that I'll probably have some of. He was a guy that caught 8 of 12 targets last week. I think he's a fine option this week. I know Njoku is going to be really chalky. I think there's ways to Njoku busting, though. If they put Kyle Hamilton, just solo one-up Kyle Hamilton on Njoku, I think Kyle Hamilton definitely has the game to shut anyone down in the league, like we've seen him shut down Kelsey and stuff in the past. So that does worry me a little bit about Njoku. I think these other pass catchers like Jerry Jeudy are going to have some success, though. And they're cheaper. That's kind of the route I would go. I know Njoku's like the cash play, but if he's going to be really high owned in tournaments, I think I may try and get off of him at 5-1 and go to some of those guys in the 4Ks. But definitely get the Njoku call. I don't know if I'm going to get much Lamar on DraftKings. I know he's a lot cheaper on FanDuel, where there's a lot more value, and his rushing upside is a little more needed over there. So I don't see myself really getting too overweight on this game. I could see it being like an ugly 20-13 game or like a 28-17 type game or something like that. But I think there's going to be points from the Ravens just because the offense has been so good, but it's they got to kind of slow down one of these weeks. I kind of feel like though.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. I just think the pricing is too good to pass up on with some of these guys, and I'm not a big buyer in
round values. Yeah,
I can see this. I mean, the Ravens defense seems like they kind of fuck around a little bit for sure. So, and I get it, right? It's hard when you're up 1 million points. We'll see. Next one up, Seattle and Buffalo. This is the start of the 4:00 window. Worth mentioning that, and I don't love this game. The problem I have is weather in this game. Probably going to be 15-mile-per-hour winds. Going to have some rain that could be in there. I wanted to get excited about this game. I've been a big, Geno Smith guy, and I wanted to just load up on him. And I don't know if this is the week to play the passing game. I don't mind playing like Kenneth Walker. I think he makes a bunch of sense. I know Jake Bobo is a cheap option. If you need value, he's popping up a little bit because of some of the injury stuff. I can't get super excited about that. But again, it's a cheap option. If you get a little splash of it, it's not the craziest. But for me, Kenneth Walker is the key guy I want. I'm not excited about these Bills receivers that much. Sure, Amari Cooper at 6K seems fine. If you force me to pick Cooper or Shakir, I'd pick Cooper if I had to pick one. But I really just want to focus on Kenneth Walker here, Snyder. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of like the under in this game. I don't think I'm going to have too much exposure to this game. Josh Allen's always in play. Wouldn't surprise me if he goes for like 30, but he really hasn't shown that upside too much this year. He's only scored over 25 points once in the last 6 games. So I don't see. I think this is going to kind of be like a slower game. I like the under, like I said. Geno's 5'9". Don't really have much in interest in him. And Kenneth Walker, though, 7,800. He's been seeing the usage. The usage has been crazy with him. 20-plus points in all but one game he's played this year. Scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. Had 3 against the Lions. He's been used in the passing game a lot more, too. 8 catches, 7 catches, 4 catches in the 3 games prior to last week. So I think Walker definitely has some interest that I'll look to a little bit. I don't know if I'll get there. At 7,800, I think I like some of the other guys just a little more. And if I was going to pay 7,800, I think I just paid the extra 300 for like Henry or something in a little better spot, I think. But this is kind of a pass game for me, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. It definitely feels like a bit of a pass game for sure. Let's go from one pass game to probably another, Snyder. Chargers, Saints. I kind of feel similar. J.K. Dobbins, 6'9". He's not a bad option. Like, he makes some sense. If Ladd McConkey somehow missed, maybe I'd have some interest in Josh Palmer. If Disley plays, 3K, he's fine. But I don't really want to play this game. I know I love playing cheap quarterback, Snyder, but I'm not playing Spencer Rattler at 4-6. I'll just get some more Jameis Winston exposure. So for me, this game is kind of like play some Dobbins, play some Disley, and I don't even know if I want to even do the Disley thing the more I think about it with all these other tight ends we've talked about for heftier price tags. I think it's just looking at J.K. Dobbins as a play. And honestly, even at 6'9", there's other running backs we've talked about I like. I like Josh Jacobs. I like Tank Bigsby. There's a bunch of other guys that I like. And this is a tough game to roster.
I think I'm going to be on Dobbins. So just based off the matchup here, over the last month, the Saints have been the worst against running backs in the league. They allowed 31 points last week to Denver, 55 to Tampa Bay, 26 to Kansas City, 21 to Atlanta, 39 to Philadelphia. They've been getting gashed at times over the last month to running backs. So I think this is a spot where Dobbins is a home favorite of 7 points. I think it just sets up really well for Dobbins at 6'9". So I'll be overweight on Dobbins. He's getting all the work too. I'll be high on Dobbins. 22 plus touches, 84 yards. Recently, so I'll be on Dobbins for sure, but I don't really see too much in this game. I don't know if I'm going to get to the Chargers defense. I like another defense a lot better if something would to happen that I may just end up locking, but I think the Chargers defense is fine if you want to correlate it with Dobbins, but not much in this game outside of that. Low total here. The Saints are in a rough spot here. I think it's just Dobbins and kind of move on, I think.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's just not a game that I think we need to load up on, not a game that I'm super excited about. And, hey, that happens. There's some games we're just going to be very underweight on. There's some games we're going to be well overweight on that we will talk about. And I definitely think most of the games we've talked about have been the good ones. I think this 4 o'clock window is a little uglier than people would like it to be. But 5 games on that one. So let's get to the next game. Chiefs, Raiders. And listen, the Raiders are not a good football team. It's plain and simple. They're not good. But because they're not good, they're going to be trailing all the time. Because they're trailing all the time, I'm going to beat the drum every week. Play Brock Bowers. Play Brock Bowers. Get exposure to Brock Bowers. It's just plain and simple. I know he's 6.1K. I don't care. I will have exposure to Brock Bowers. He's going to be in a trailing script. It's a really good spot for him. I'll be getting exposure to Brock Bowers. You can make the argument for Kareem Hunt just because, Snyder, I think Rubio could be back there as the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he'd have the same exact role. RB1s and the Chiefs just eat, right? They just do. At 6'1", at 6'3", going up against the Raiders, I don't think he's a bad play. Now, he is 16% owned. Not my favorite ownership on him. Not saying I'm going to have like 30%, but I definitely think getting exposure to Hunt is not a bad idea here. I don't think Travis Kelce's a bad play, but I prefer Brock Bowers to him. If you told me one or the other, I'm clearly going Brock Bowers over him. I do want to talk to you about, though, the narrative. The Patrick Mahomes narrative this week, Snyder?
Was the Raiders talking trash to him or something this offseason or something like that?
Yeah, they had the Kermit the Frog Muppet or puppet, and they were making fun of him. And the reporter asked Pat about it in the offseason. He said, Pat, what did you think of it? And he said, I'll take care of it when it needs to be taken care of. Pat Mahomes is 6.8K. He's not 7.8K. Typically, he'd be 7.8 right now, but he has had a down year. Listen, I'll play some Pat Mahomes this week, Snyder. I'll play a little bit. I'll play some Hunt. I'll play some Kelsey. I'll play some Bowers. And I think for the most part, I'll move on from this game. I'm not going to play Worthy just because at his price, I think it's too expensive for me at 6.2K. But overall, Snyder, I think this is a really, really good game. How about you? Or sorry, I don't think it's a good game. I should say, I think it's a game we can get exposure to. My bad.
I kind of think this is a kind of like a rough spot for Kansas City. They're coming off that huge win last week over the 49ers. Now they go back home. Now they're going back across the country. I think this is one of those kind of sleepy spots where the Chiefs get into sometimes, especially playing the Raiders. They've kind of struggled playing the Raiders on the road recently in these divisional games. I actually bet the Raiders on Tuesday. I put it in Discord. I took the 10 points. I think this is kind of going to be – we've got a low total of 41 points in this game. I think this is just going to be kind of a low, slow, like slog type of a game. I could see like Kareem Hunt potentially getting there, 6,300. I'm not a Patrick Mahomes guy for fantasy-wise. I took a lot of heat saying that he was not a good fantasy play like coming into the year. The way that their offense have kind of translated to they don't have Tyreek anymore. They're not trying to air it out. I know right now they're definitely hurting for firepower in the passing game. They've kind of just molded into just win. Let Mahomes, let Reed outplay everyone and just win the games, and that's what they do. They just win every single game. I don't think it's much stats-wise in this game, though. I'm not going to play like Hardman or Watson or Worthy. I think Kareem Hunt could have a game here, though. I think it's going to be like a 2013 type game or like a 17-10 type game in this. I don't really see too much in this. I could be dead wrong here. The Chiefs could come in and just mow them over 38-0 or something, but I just don't see it in this spot.
Yeah, I understand. I think I haven't really played him that much. I just think I'm going to take stabs at it. It's in that dome too, so we'll see.
Yeah, it could definitely hit. Yeah,
it could. It could also end really poorly. To be honest, the 4 o'clock window always sucks, Snyder. Like, and this 4 o'clock window sucks. Why are we even playing? All right, let's keep moving along though. Bears, not Redskins, Commanders. Bears, Commanders. I always want to call them the Washington football team or the Redskins, but they are the Commanders. And we were talking about this pre-show. We think Mariota's going to be the guy tomorrow, but they did not elevate Hartman. And because they didn't elevate Hartman, could Daniels play? If Daniels does play, he's going to be low owned, and that would change my tune on this team. So that is something I am going to be watching for. I think that's really intriguing here. DeAndre Smith, 6'2", another one of those 6K running backs I think you have in the player pool. Not a bad option. you got to deal with like the mix of Brian Robinson Jr. and all those running backs with the Commanders. Overall, I don't love this game unless Snyder, you get me Jaden Daniels. If you get me Jaden Daniels, I think this game is definitely going to be an intriguing one that you could get exposure to. A run back that you could use if you did play Daniels, man, play Roma Dunze at 5.1K. I do think it's a spot for him at cheap that I would take some stabs on in tournaments, and I don't think anyone's going to be on him. He would not be a bad option. Keenan Allen at 5.8, I just don't love it. There's other guys I like a little bit more that are priced up, but I think the Adunze thing, he's just in this dead zone that I don't think is crazy. So, sure, there's some plays in this game. I like it if Jaden Daniels happens to play. I'm assuming he doesn't play, but I mean, that new news makes me think, hey, there's definitely a chance. And if he does play, it's just something to think about in tournaments because I think he'll be like 2% owned.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to pay attention to the spread in this game for sure. Once it got announced that he wasn't going to play, the line shifted to the Bears -3. So if that starts coming down, maybe that'll be kind of telling there as well. This is one of my favorite plays for tournaments. So I really like Caleb Williams in this spot. He was QB6 and QB1 going into the bye. Was starting to kind of get more comfortable in the NFL here as he kind of struggled the first couple of games, but he's looking a lot better to me in these last couple. He's coming off the bye. Gets the absolute nut spot here against this Washington defense. So off the bye, I really like Caleb Williams, 6K. I think he's going to be low owned. I think he puts up another 25-point QB top 5 performance here. I don't think anybody's really going to go there. I think he'll be under 10% for sure. And I really like pairing him up with DJ Moore coming off the bye. They kind of got Moore going a couple of games ago, and then the game before the bye, kind of dudded there. He was 5 for 105 and 2 touchdowns against Carolina. Against a very, very similar matchup than the Carolina one they had there. In this spot here, he was double-digit points in every game, but last game against Jacksonville overseas. I'll give that a pass, though. I really like DJ Moore at like probably 5% or less. I think in this game, I think you could even double it if Caleb throws for 300 yards in this game, which is fully on the table, I think, against the secondary. I think you could play Roma Dunze with DJ Moore and put like a Caleb double in there. But that's more like a million maker type play. I think DJ Moore and Caleb Williams is potentially my favorite stack on this slate here with the ownership and everything, with everything in place there against this Washington defense. We've been attacking this Washington defense a lot this year. They've given up 30 points 3 times, I think, this year. They've given up 30-plus points. They've gotten torched by passing attacks. They've gotten torched on the ground. I think Swift is a good play as well. I really like the Bears betting in this game too. So it's going to be one of my bigger stances, I think. I think I may have Caleb Williams even in my core, I think. So I'm high on Caleb Williams and DJ Moore this week. I think Swift is a good play. Running it back, I just really don't know much. I think this is the one of the defenses I like too. I like if Jalen Daniels doesn't play, I really like the Bears defense at sub 3K. The Bears defense has actually been pretty good this year. They've been getting after quarterbacks, multiple sacks in every game but one. They put up 9 points, 14 points, 8 points, 24 points against the Titans. So I think this Bears defense has a lot of merit under 3K for like one of those defenses. I usually don't like to spend a lot on defense, so that would fit the mold for me as for a sub 3K defense.
Oh, for sure. I don't mind the defense stuff. Like, again, the way I play defense, and I think it's not a bad week for it, I'm probably going to punt a lot of defenses and just mix and match. Like, just because I know there is a lot of value on the slate, but I do want to spend up for some studs. Like, when I just kind of build out my teams, I don't want to waste salary and spend up.
Yeah. Do you like Caleb any of this week? Coming off those 2 big games in the bye week?
He's just – I'll just say this. Rookie quarterback on the road, like, I just can't get super excited about it. I do like Adunze a little bit just because I think he's like cheap for the upside he presents, but
he threw for 360 on the road at the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts are bad. I mean, I don't know.
Washington's not good.
The one thing I will say with Washington is I don't think their defense is great, but I think with how well their offense is playing, it helps enhance the defense's play a little bit. But yeah, if Mario can't move the ball, it's going to be harder on that defense. So I don't think it's a crazy play. There's just other games I'd rather get to, and I have to make cuts. And another game that I really don't want to get to, but I think the field wants to get to, and I'll let the field play it. Bo Nix Chalk Week. We've arrived.
Yeah, there we are.
I think this is a really bad play in tournaments. I don't mind Javonte Williams in tournaments, but my thing with Javonte Williams, so he's 6K. He's a cash game play. He's solid. My biggest issue with Javonte Williams is if you want to be overweight on him, he's going to be like 30% owned or like something like that. And so what am I going to do? Play like 60% Javonte Williams? No, I'm not. Like, I want to either be max even with the field or underweight on him. I'm sorry. It's just not the best chalk. I think he's the best play in this game. I think he's better than playing Bo Nix chalk, but yeah. And then the receivers, do I want to take chances on Leggett, Franklin, Vele, Sutton? No, I don't. So Javonte Williams are bust for me in this game. I also don't mind the defenses, Snyder. I think they're certainly in play. I think Carolina's defense is in play. Bo Nix ain't very good. So Javonte Williams in the defenses, Snyder. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think Bo Nix is fine for like cash. I think maybe you'd go there. I don't know. He actually hasn't been horrible lately, but I mean, this Carolina team is absolutely horrible. So I think anybody could look decent versus them. He put up 20 points against the Chargers and the Raiders. So I don't think I'd get there. I think I'd rather play like Caleb Williams for 400 more at least half the ownership. Definitely there. I think Javonte, this is just a smash spot for Javonte too. Carolina's been horrible. They've given up 30-plus points to RB position 5 times this year. This is a great Javonte just smash spot coming off that big game last week. I do like Troy Franklin some as a pass catcher for Denver. I know he's kind of been ascending upwards the last couple of weeks. I mean, Sean Payton's been talking highly of him, thinks he could maybe even ascend to the wide receiver 1 on the team towards the end of the year. They say he can play the slot, he can play outside. So I'm interested in Troy Franklin here. He had a 23% target share last week as well. So I think Troy Franklin is a guy you got to keep your eye on. He's going to ascend here soon. So he's the guy I want to have in the player pool for sure. I know some people are going to probably go to Vele this week at 3,400, and he's fine to throw in the pool if you want. I don't know if I'll get there. I think I prefer Franklin to him. And if I'm going to spend up on defense, so I don't mind going to Denver here at 3,700. I know I don't usually like to spend this much on defense, but I mean, this Denver defense has been getting after the quarterbacks so good this year. I think they're definitely in the top 3. I don't know if they're first in the league in sacks, but they're definitely up there. They've scored double-digit points in 4 of the last 5 weeks. Put up 20 last week. I think they had 7 or 8 sacks last week. I can see this being a very, very tough time for a Bryce Young here. So I definitely like this Denver defense. I like Javonte and Troy Franklin as well. And Denver has the 4th highest implied team total on the slate, so they're going to score points in this game. Just got to find out where they're coming.
Yep, we do got to figure out where those points are coming. But listen, Senator, I'll let you figure it out. I'm not going to try to figure it out.
Just Javonte.
Yeah, the defense and Javonte. If that's where they want to come, then I'm okay with it. So I'll be perfectly fine with that one, Snyder. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to plays of the day, Snyder. Plays of the day. Who do you got? Do you have one ready to go, Snyder? Because I have an idea of one, but I'm a little nervous about the ownership. I got to be under 8%. I picked Kittle last time. I think he was solid last time. So
yeah.
Who do you got though? You got play of the day ready to roll?
Yeah, it was a play I just talked up here a little bit ago. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I think he goes for 100+ yards and a touchdown again this week. He found the end zone twice against Carolina. I think this is a very similar defense, so I'm going to say DJ Moore goes for 7 catches, 125 yards, and at least 1 touchdown in this game.
All right, let me just double check. I don't want to give out a play that's going to be insanely chalky. Saber, I'm not buying Saber's ownership. So let me while I'm stalling to find it, okay. Why don't we smash the like? We would appreciate it over here at Run Pure Sports. Subscribe to the channel. Got people in the chat talking about you can go Sutton. I don't want to go Sutton. I don't think he's that great of a play.
Yeah, I think Troy Franklin is going to overtake him here soon.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think they're going to try to trade Sutton. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would. I mean, it seems like a likely spot to just move on from him. So I'm looking to do that. Okay, I got other ownerships. I just want to see because I feel pretty confident he's not. Okay, it's going to flirt with the line, but I don't care. It's not that often I get to play Jameis Winston, man. It's not too often. I see him at like 6% on DraftKings, 5.2K. I see him on other sites at like around the 8% mark. Everyone's going to play Knicks instead. Give me Jameis Winston, Snyder. That's the guy. That's who I want. I'm excited to play some Jameis. So
he's going to chuck for sure.
That's what I want. I want my receivers trailing. I want them to finally figure out how to throw the ball by the time they get to the end of the game and not have to fail. That's my hope. So it's ugly, but it's Jameis Winston. So there you go. All right. Well, it's a fun show, Snyder. It's fun hanging out with you guys in the chat. Thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll have the Wood Show tomorrow, so be sure to check that out. But that's going to wrap it up for us. For me, Mangone, and Snyder. We'll see you guys later.